Do you think that there's an element of, I almost want to say like elitism when it comes to these separate worlds? You always kind of feel like orchestral music is up here.
I'm trying to think what my honest opinion is.
Yeah.
Well, I honestly think. I do think for sure there is an element where I feel like, yeah, orchestra is the hardest thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it comes from that. Like, I think it's the most difficult. Like in terms of it's the most difficult to get programmed, number one. It's the most difficult to write for. And then number three, it has the most historical baggage to go through. Mm-hmm. Whereas a wind ensemble, it doesn't have the baggage really. There's only like a few, like maybe 100 years worth. Mm-hmm. And then it's relatively easy compared to an orchestra to get programmed. And then as far as the instrumentation, I mean, you're not dealing with strings. So that's a whole can of worms you're not dealing with. So yeah, in my mind, yeah, I'm not, of course, if that's elitism, I guess that's what it is, But I have to recognize that personally. So that if I get a chance to write for wind ensemble, I have to be honest with myself and be cognizant of that bias that I have.
Yeah.
I think that's what it is.
Yeah.
Because if I sit up here and say, oh, no, there's no elitism, I think I would be lying to myself.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But if I recognize that and tackle it head on when I'm writing a piece like that, I think that will help the process.
Yeah.
But just ignoring that that's how I feel, I don't think helps anybody.
Yeah,
so completely. I don't know how you feel about it. How do you feel about it? You put it on me.
I know. I
spot.
think it is something that I've been thinking about a lot.
Yeah?
Yeah. I mean, especially because like we come from the same program and we come from the same sort of educational funneling, where I do think certain types of music, certain ensembles, certain concert settings are put more on a pedestal than others. Just sort of I guess maybe that's what I'm thinking about in terms of elitism. Set up, institutionally, I would say, and like historically, socioeconomically as well, which is something that like, I guess for me, I'm like been thinking quite a lot about this and like, yeah, what the difference between why people are not crossing these sort of boundaries between writing movie music or like being afraid of saying I'm writing movie music, that kind of thing, or writing for wind ensemble versus writing for orchestra. Yeah, I don't know. It's just all there. Still thinking about it.
Yeah.
But I do agree with you, and I like your answer as well, that like when you do get an opportunity to write for a wind ensemble, for example, like, yeah, just being really like bringing everything to the table and being aware
That's
of
what
that.
I mean. Like, don't dumb down your language because you think that, the orchestra can do this, but a wind ensemble can't.
Yeah.
And I would say the same. You mentioned film. The same thing with film.
Yeah.
If you get offered a film or I get offered a film or whatever, it doesn't mean that I'm going to. Of course, film is a little different because it has certain needs that might not exactly line up with your needs as a creative person, but it doesn't mean that you forget about everything you learned and what you've done in your own past.
Exactly. Yeah.
But thinking to yourself, it's film music or it's wind ensemble music or it's choir music or whatever. It's not as elite as orchestral music. I don't think it's helpful when you're writing it, but I think it's okay to have a bias towards that because you got to make a decision on what you like the most. Like, I'm not going to apologize that I like orchestral repertoire the most because that's what I do. Like,
I'm also not going to lie. And
you too?
I love orchestra music.
Yeah. Like, if I had a choice, what am I going to do? If you told me what am I going to listen to for the next hour, like, I'm probably going to put some new orchestral music, I'm probably going to put some Andrew Norman or some Georg Haas or whatever. I'll put some Aaron J. Kernis. I'll put all different kinds of stuff, I'm not going to put just, it's just the truth,
Yeah. Also, I like that what you said earlier where it presents a challenge too, to take everything that you've known and put it to an ensemble that has these restraints that you might not have had to deal with before. Just like you were saying, like there's no strings. You can't forever, have a sound going for 20 minutes unless you actually orchestrate it or write the instrumentation in a way that's going to sustain it without having everyone circular breathe for 20 minutes.
Yeah, like writing writing like a held note in a wind ensemble. That's a skill.
Yeah.
But in an orchestra, you just free bowing.
Give it to the violins, violas. Yeah.
Any major you look at your John Adams or your John Luther Adams or any of these, or Philip Glass, or any of these people, like they have goose eggs all over their scores, and it sounds great, you know, but you can't really do that in a wind ensemble.
Yeah.
You know?